Oh, hang on. Here
Now
we
we're
go.
going to let our public come in, hopefully. Okay.
All right.
We're good to go.
Good morning and welcome to each of you. I'm Warden Jamie Heffer, and to start off the meeting, I'm going to read Accessibility Advisory Committee meetings are available live through Zoom, and recordings may be posted online on County of Huron's YouTube channel. You may be seen and or heard as part of these broadcasts, and your name, comments, and or presentation materials will become part of the public record. So with that, we can launch into our meeting, and the first on order is the election of a chair and a vice chair. And I'm going to be opening up and requesting nominations for the position of chair for the County Accessibility Advisory Committee. Yes, Laurie.
I'll nominate Leah Knoll.
So Leah. All right, thank you for that. And
I'll second that.
Okay, so Leah has been nominated, and I'm going to, and I see Julie had her hand up, so I'm going to try and be a little more diligent at looking for raised hands as well. So just if that's the option you choose, I'll try and look for that. So I am going to have to ask for a second time, is there any further nominations for the position of chair? And seeing none, I am going to ask for a third and final time, is there any other nominations for the position of chair? And seeing none, thank you for the nomination. And Leah, are you willing to stand for that position?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
And thank you for that, Leah. Then if that's the case, I would be looking for a motion then to appoint Leah Noel as the chair for our advisory committee. So Laurie and Julie seconds that. Those in favor? And that is carried. So I'll turn the meeting over to our new chair, Leah Noel.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. The next item on our agenda is nominations for the position of vice chair. And so I would like to open the floor for nominations for that position, if I could, please. Would anyone like to? Julie?
I would like to nominate Lori Faulkner as vice chair.
Lori Faulkner, thank you. So moved. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Maya, thank you. And Lori, are you willing to sit as the vice chair?
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much. So I will call the question. Well, actually, are there any other nominations? Let me ask that first. Are there any other nominations for vice chair, please? Okay, seeing none, I will now call the question that Lori Faulkner be nominated as the vice chair for the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee. All in favor? Thank you, that carries.
Sorry, Leah, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I mean, your first job as chair, and I'm going to interrupt. I believe we have a member that's on the phone and you can't actually, oh, she just left us. So I'm lying. Okay. We're waiting for Diane Blackall. She's actually a member too, and she's having some connectivity issues. She was on and she's gone again. I'll look for her. Carry on. Sorry.
Would you like me to proceed then?
Yep.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Great, thank you. So item 3 on our agenda is actually the approval of the agenda. The recommended motion is that the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee for March 17th, 2025 agenda be approved as presented. May I have a mover, please? Maya, thank you. And a seconder? Fern, thank you. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, please. And that carries. Item number 4, does anyone have a declaration of pecuniary interest at this meeting? Seeing none, we'll proceed. Thank you. The minutes of the previous meeting. The recommended motion is that the minutes of the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting of November 18th, 2024 be adopted as circulated. Do I have a mover for that motion, please? Lori, thank you. And a seconder? Julie, thank you. Is there any discussion or questions or any amendments recommended to the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, please. And that carries. We have no delegations, petitions, or presentations today. So I would like to open the floor, if I could, to committee member comments, please. Julie.
Just wanted to let the committee know I can only stay till 9:30 today, so that's my only issue.
Thank you, Julie. So noted. Does anyone else on the committee have any comments to make at this time? No? Okay, seeing none. We're going to move on to number 8, which is reports of the accessibility coordinator. And so I would like to turn the floor over to Sahil, please, to present the coordinator's report today.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. So first report is the accessibility coordinator report that deals with everything that I have been doing in the past and I intend to do in the future. So I finally did my my CCIP certification. Took 6 months, but I'm finally certified, so yay for me. There are a couple of things that are happening in the near future in partnership with obviously this committee and the subcommittees. So I'll be reviewing the Huron County's accessibility policy in collaboration with the DNR subcommittee. We are to submit a corporate accessibility audit report that happens every 2 years. I think we just submitted one, but I did collaborate with Susan on that one. We'll be doing a couple of reviews that are lined up with the site and plan review subcommittee. The Access-led program, which is now launched last week, just making sure I'm looking at the smooth operations and effective implementation of that. And then we have the National Accessibility Week coming up in May. And hoping to partner with the education subcommittee and our working group to oversee its programming. So that's all I have on my report. Any questions?
No questions from the floor for Sahil or comments? No? Okay, thank you. Congratulations, Sahil, on your certification. That's great news. I'm happy to hear it. So we'll move on, I guess, to number 9, which is reports of the accessibility subcommittees.
Sorry, Chair, can I interrupt you? Can we have a mover and a seconder to
sorry.
accept that report for information?
To receive and accept for information. Thank you for that reminder, Madam Clerk. May I have a mover, please? Maya, thank you. And a seconder? Jamie, thank you. Any comments, questions, any other discussion before I call the question? Okay, all in favor? Thank you, that carries. Number 9, reports of the accessibility subcommittees. And the first report is the subcommittee report, directive and legislative review, education review, and site plan review. And I'm going to turn it back over to Sahil, please.
Thank you. So as we know, we have 3 different subcommittees, and the very first one is the directive and regulation subcommittee. So this subcommittee will focus on reviewing our accessibility policy in the next couple of months, just making sure that the policy that we have right now is on par with the current accessibility standards. The second subcommittee, which is the education subcommittee, we have a key project lined up for National Accessibility Week, which is to partner with our municipal group and to oversee the volunteer programming. So what we're trying to do is train all our volunteers in all our line partner municipalities on customer service standard as outlined by the AODA in hopes that we can roll out, education and more awareness on accessibility. The National Accessibility Week 2025 is from May 25 to 31st this year. So hopefully we can align our programming during that time. The third subcommittee, which is the Site and Plan Review Subcommittee, we have a review coming up in South Huron. We're looking at 2 different parks there. And then we do have a parking lot expansion project that we're currently reviewing. And yeah, that's all I have for all the 3 subcommittees. Short and sweet.
Thank you, Sahil. I guess what I should do, what I maybe didn't do the last time that I should do this time is I'll provide the recommended motion for a mover and seconder, then ask for discussion or questions, and then we'll move on from there. So the recommended motion is that the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee receive the report by Sahil Kashal, Accessibility Coordinator, dated March 17th, 2025, titled HCAAC Subcommittee Reports, Directive and Legislative Review, Education Review, Site Plan Review as presented for information. May I have a mover, please? Fern, thank you. And a seconder? Diane, thank you. Any questions or comments on those reports? Julie?
Sorry, just wondering about the tourism accessibility checklisty thing that the Education Committee has been working on. I wanted to know if this is a good time to talk about that, or is that somewhere else on the agenda already?
It's not on the agenda. So it was sent to the Site Review Subcommittee for their comments on the list. And hopefully when we convene as a subcommittee, we can talk about the checklist. Is that okay?
Yeah, I guess so. I just had a thought about it, and I thought it would be good for the whole committee to hear it. But if now's not the right time, that's fine.
Clerk Cronin, please, you have a comment?
Julie, if you have a comment, just bring it forward now. That's totally okay. And the subcommittee can digest it when they go through the final process of that.
Okay, so I was looking at the checklist that the subcommittee has put together. I think that there is a way that we could like streamline and simplify the whole process. I think the goal is to try and identify what locations in Huron County, the tourism locations, are accessible and how accessible they are. And there's an app for that. Like, it's very cliche to say that, but the Access Now app is available. And I think that if the county instead of creating a new list, trained tourism people how to do a map mission and actually assess their own site, then there would be the education component of teaching people what accessibility actually looks like using the app. And then that information automatically gets posted on the Access Now app, and then it's available. And there's no like, we got to put this up on our tourism website or on our organization website. And it's a pretty comprehensive way of encapsulating the accessibility of a location. And I think it would sort of streamline that whole process if the county got behind teaching people how to use it. It's not at all challenging, just looking at those things. So that's my thought.
Thank you, Julie. Does anybody else have any comments? I thought I saw a hand up a minute ago. Maybe I'm mistaken. It's hard to tell on this Hollywood Squares. Lori, please.
Yes, it was me, and thank you for reminding me. So first of all, to Julie's comment, I've used the Access Now app actually, a few of us on the committee did some reviewing around the square in Godrich last year, and it was fairly simple to follow the app. So I think that's a positive. I just have one question in regards to the let's see, I lost my train of thought. The volunteer training that the education committee is working on, will that be available to other volunteer agencies or committees within the county, or will that strictly be a county accessible portion of the training?
Thank you for that question, Lori. I see that Clerk Cronin has her hand up.
So this initiative came from our working group and actually from this committee together, where we were discussing events and that are held in Huron County, and that there seemed to be a bit of a gap in the training of volunteers. So we shared this with the working group, with this group, and we came up with the idea, well, let's look at having some sort of training session for all. And it ended up that hitting it in May would be a great time just before all the events start really kicking off in Huron County. What it's going to look like, we haven't fully decided. It's a collaborative effort here. We're not sure whether it's going to be one of our webinar workshops where we have all municipal staff invited and counselors, etc., or whether we're going to roll it out as something that we involve like our local groups, our Lions clubs, our Rotary clubs, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to list them because I know I'm going to miss them. Or it's going to be a combination of both. Or is it going to be something that we record and we share with everyone? The decision hasn't been made, just the plan to do it. Also, we don't know what it's going to look like as far as who's going to be the speakers, et cetera, et cetera. The goal is to eventually roll it out to everyone that is actually doing the events, so that it ends up being a very successful thing. So Hill, I'm not sure if you have any more comments on that.
No, I think you covered it all. I think we have a lot of options right now, but we are meeting the group next week, so we'll have a definite answer by then. After that, yeah.
All right, thank you for that. I just have had local groups like Lions Legion, as Susan was referring to, saying we still have to do customer training, and what's on the provincial website doesn't really apply to volunteers. It's more of a business or owners training session for customer service. So I think this is a great thing, and the more open to our county groups, the more successful it will be.
It's another one of those things that we're getting caught in the legislation, which happens all the time, especially with AODA. We are supposed to train anyone that provides a service of the municipalities, and yet it's not really designed to train for like volunteers for events. So that's why we're recreating something that is more applicable to that kind of a thing than it is to have them go, as you say, online to that training, which they're not going to learn anything that they really need to learn because it doesn't really apply to what we're doing. So that's why it came from our group and everyone saying we have a little bit of a gap here, and that's why we want to do it. And it's, as I said, and as Sahil said, we are meeting next week, and it is going to be designed to try and work for everybody kind of thing. So we're really excited about it. It's a wonderful education opportunity, but not quite there yet. So stay tuned.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Maya, please.
Do you not have to be at the walk-up? Like, do you even have like how get the why important or do like how like do you have to be active worker?
Do you have to be, I'm sorry, Maya, I missed that.
Do you not have to be active worker in May?
Do you not have, Michaela's shaking her head.
Michaela, please.
Do you have to be at the workshop in May?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't figured out whether it's going to be like a work. I believe, and I don't want to speak prior to the committee making this decision. I believe there's going to be a couple parts to this. I think it might be a webinar. I think it may be something in person. I also feel there will be rollout materials that go with that. So brochures of some sort that kind of, I mean, technically, if you want to do accessible training, you could hand a brochure to somebody and say, here, read this, and you check the box off. Is that an effective way to reach our volunteers? I would suggest no. Is it an effective follow-up to a webinar and a training session? I would suggest yes, a gentle reminder. Is it effective if they were unable to attend any of the sessions? It's better than nothing. So I think there's going to be a multifaceted approach to doing the volunteer training. And as we've said, stay tuned. Next week, we're going to have hopefully some more details on this. And again, it's new. I've actually not heard of anyone else doing a joint session like this either. So again, Huron County Accessibility Committee is ahead of the game on many levels. But when we're ahead of the game on many levels, we're also doing that trial and error thing. So stay tuned for details. And we have an incredible group of people that are involved in this. And you know, we may not get it perfect the first time, but then the second time it will be even better. So
Thank you, Susan. Any other comments at this time? Questions? Seeing none, then I'll call the question that we receive these reports as presented for information. Please, all in favor? And that carries. Thank you. And moving on to the next report to be received, there's a recommended motion that the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee approve the report dated March 17th, 2025 by Susan Cronin, Director of Legislative Services, and Sahil Kashal, Accessibility Coordinator, titled Access SLED, Launch and Approval Process as presented, and further that the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee support the presented Access SLED program grant selection with the authority to approve recipients by the Education Subcommittee. And I think what I'll do is, prior to getting a mover and a seconder on this, I'll actually ask Susan and Sahil to please present all of the information so we have it in front of us, and then I'll ask for a mover and seconder and discussion on this item.
do you want to go first, Sahil?
Okay. So Access LED, as this committee is aware that this program with it was conceptualized last year, I would believe, and now it's actually launched. We launched it on 10th of March. Essentially, what the program does is it offers grants up to $1,000 to the local community, the Huron County, to the organizations who want to make their places and their services more accessible to the public. So what happens is they send us their plan to us. There's an application form. They go in, they send us the plan to us. And whatever improvements they ought to make, they can amount to up to $1,000. They are responsible for 25% of it. And we pay the rest. We pay 50% upfront and 50% after the project has been completed. we do require them to submit a final report, including the images, including the impact report, any testimonials they have for us to use it in the future for promotions and for us for accountability as well. Multiple organizations can apply to this program. We have private local businesses, including retails, including services. We have municipal buildings can apply, nonprofit organizations, any hospitality and tourism businesses can apply, arts and cultural venues can apply, and also e-commerce, because we cannot leave web accessibility out. So if there are applicants who are using e-commerce platforms and they want to make those platforms more accessible, they can apply as well. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say, Susan. I think you should continue.
Thanks, Sahil. So again, this is a brand new program. Came up with it. I think it's exciting. The one thing that it is it runs with our SLED program, which is our local economic development program. They've been doing it for years, incredibly successful. They generally have way more applicants than they do money. So we are running in tandem with them. The economic development committee or department is actually doing the bulk of the advertising for us and sharing. They've been there, they've done that. So we're basically riding on their coattails of a program that is already super successful. What we're asking of this committee is a couple things. One, share it. If there's places that you know of that you think, hey, you could do this, apply for this, you can get a quick $1,000, not quick, with easily and making this space more accessible and inclusive for so many people. So share this information as much as you can. And the other part is the SLED program does open and it close, and they try to get it up and running really quickly, meaning selecting the people that have been accepted for the applications, so that it gives them lots of time to get up and going. So spring is a wonderful time for improvements to be done. So that's why we're asking that the education committee are the ones that will be going through the applications, narrowing it down. We have a cap on the amount of money that we're going to spend. We're hoping we have way more applicants than we do money. That would be the ultimate goal, and we're hoping this is the start of a program that is going to last for quite a few years. I am hoping that I'm going to be knocking on council's door and saying, we have an amazing program here, and we would like you to fund this a little bit more. We have some money for about 2 years, but if it ends up being successful, I'm hoping that we get to ask for more money. So the biggest part of this is the education part of it. And Sahil and the committee will be working very hard to educate our public on how easy it can be to make a space accessible. And the more people we tell, the more people we show, and they tell 2 friends and they tell 2 friends, and et cetera, et cetera. So this is one of the most exciting programs I think we've launched with this committee. So if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Thank you, Sahil and Susan. I'll actually ask Kirk, you've got your hand up, please. You've got a question or comment?
Yeah, certainly. And just out of curiosity, thank you for taking my question. With this program, can you give me just a quick in-depth look at the approval process? And then following up question, you get pictures of it after it's taken place, but is there like an inspection process? Does somebody from the committee go out and take a look at what has been done?
Sahil, do you want to?
Yes. So I'll ask the second question first. Yes, we will be going to the venue, if possible, to inspect the place and make sure whatever reports we've gotten, they are correct. And to answer the first question, when they submit the report or when we're looking at who's going to get the grant, we want them to submit some KPIs. For example, we want to see how this project gonna impact the community and their business. Like, are they generating more revenue after that, or are they seeing more customers coming in or not? What's the overall impact of the project? The report that was attached with the agenda packet, it does enlist a couple of KPIs that we're looking for. That being said, we will also partner with ECDEV and see how they have their SLED program list, their SLED SLED programs parameters listed. Because it's a very first project for us. So there's definitely a collaboration there. We want to learn from them as well. But there are 2 or 3 things that we are looking when we're making the decision.
Thank you, Sahil. Is that, does that answer your question, Kirk, your questions?
Yeah, so thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Kirk, if you keep asking questions, you might be on that subcommittee, so just be careful.
Any other questions or comments at this time? Seeing none. I have to say, every time I look at Diane, I think that I can see your chair behind you, and I think that's you with your hand up. So I apologize. Every so often I look to the corner of the screen and then have to look back up again because I realize it's just the chair. So I'd ask for a mover and a seconder, please, for the recommended motion. Sean and Jamie seconds. Thank you. Any other questions or comments before I call the question? Okay, all in favor, please. Thank you. That carries. The next item on our agenda, number 10, is new or unfinished business. We have none, so we'll move on to number 11, which is correspondence. And we have received correspondence from Patty Steenstra regarding the Southbridge Goderich Maitland Manor. The recommended motion is that the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee accept correspondence not otherwise specifically dealt with for information. So I think that probably the best thing for me to do right now is open up the floor for anyone who would like to speak to Ms. Steenstra's correspondence, please. Lori.
Yes, thank you. So the committee, for those new people joining the meeting today, we did question this when the building was being built, although it's not a county or provincial building. We don't really have any jurisdiction over it, but we did deem this as being an upcoming problem, that just because there are many residents that one of the couple will be in the nursing home area where many of their spouses are in the long-term or the retirement residence in Goderich that are close but no connecting bar. So this did come up. My only comment, I realize that we don't really have any jurisdiction to comment on this or to make any improvements, other than I'm wondering if perhaps a letter of support could be sent to them in this mission, realizing that for considering accessibility, this could be important. And my second comment is about the timing of this. So this came in December, I believe, if I have.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
And even though we cannot actually do much to help, I think it's important as a committee that we respond to these things. Otherwise, we have people in the community that say, well, I asked accessibility, never heard back from them. I think a letter just saying, unfortunately, this isn't within our legislation, but we do support the fact that this would be useful or a positive thing for accessibility in the community, and just a response, because I think people get really frustrated when they don't hear anything, when they send a letter that they put time and effort into looking for this support. Just you know, just an acknowledgement, I think, is good. And we're late now because it came in December. So maybe it's not something that has to wait till it comes to committee. Maybe Sahil and Susan, if you look at it and go, this really isn't under our jurisdiction, but we could send a letter of, we received your letter. We understand the issue, and if we could be of support, we would be. I don't know. Just a thought, because I don't like things being left unanswered.
Thank you, Lori. So could I turn this over to Susan, please, for a
Absolutely.
response and some more information?
So valid points. This did come into December, and I have been back and forth with Patty. Would have gone on to the January meeting, but we didn't have a meeting in January. We had like not enough content for it. Generally, we don't have meetings for the sake of having meetings, so we have to have content on there. Which I communicated with Patty. I've been back and forth with her. She was fully aware of it and okay with that. So I told her our next meeting was March. She did ask that it be included on here, so this is why it's here. So it is addressed to the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee, and we work as a body. We don't work as individuals. So Sahil and I cannot comment on this other than saying we've received it, which we've done. If the committee is interested in sending a letter of support for saying it might be a nice accessibility feature for, you know, I would put it in better terms. But the understanding is it's not within our jurisdiction, and that's the reality, unfortunately. And we don't have a lot of teeth on this. So we could certainly draft a letter saying for the purposes of accessibility and commuting between Goderich and this facility, it would certainly be a nice thing for the community to have and a benefit for the residents. We can certainly do that. I would ask that there be a motion for that. But as far as the process, Patty is aware, the submitter is aware of, has been notified all along the way. And if it's coming into my inbox, I'm going to tell you that I respond.
Thank you, Susan. Any other, Lori, follow up, please.
I just want to thank Susan for that response. It's really great to know that that you've been in contact with Patty, and I would be interested in making the motion to send a letter just stating that it was on the meeting agenda. We really don't have any, but we do recognize that this would be a positive venture in the community.
Thank you, Lori. So there's a motion on the floor to send correspondence to Ms. Steenstra as just discussed. Do I have a seconder for that motion, please? Michelle, thank you. And any further discussion, comments, or questions on this motion, please? Yes, Jamie.
I would just want to caution that, you know, we can recognize the receipt of the letter, but I would certainly caution against sending our support to it. I think it would be best to say that this is outside of our realm of jurisdiction and thank them for their concerns. But I would be very hesitant to actually put our support behind it when it is outside of our realm of jurisdiction.
Thank you, Jamie. Michaela, you have your hand up, please, for comments.
Yeah, I'd concur with the Warden Heffer's comments, just because I know it is being dealt with at a different municipal level, and saying that we acknowledge their concerns and have discussed it at the meeting. And unfortunately, we really can't provide any further comment or support, or something like that would be maybe more appropriate. Or maybe just leave it the support altogether. Leah, you're the chair. You're the lawyer in the field.
Thank you, Michaela. I'm going to turn it over to Susan, who has her hand up, who can maybe provide us some guidance here as well.
So what I would suggest that we draft correspondence, which was my original comment, is that yes, we will draft a piece of correspondence and we will send it to them. We will say that yes, we received it. We discussed it at this meeting today. It is one not within our jurisdiction, but and that is from what we understand, it is being dealt with at a different level. And two, to say that we do see the value of a path. That is not supporting it in any way, really. Like, it is saying that, yes, I can see how it's valuable from this building into Goderich. However, we don't, that doesn't really necessarily have any weight to it, because it just doesn't, because we don't have any authority here. So it will be, it will at least be dealt with. So that is what I would suggest. That's what I assumed was the motion, Lori, because you understand the fact that we cannot go in, we can't cross jurisdictions. It's not within our jurisdiction. It's MTO jurisdiction, and it's town of Goderich, I believe. I'm not even sure about that, but it's not ours.
Thank you, Susan. Lori.
Thank you. And yes, Susan, that was my intent. I'm understanding what's being said about not being able to really say that we support, but I do think Susan's suggestion of during our discussion, we feel that this would be beneficial to the community. Not really putting support behind it, but from an accessibility point of view, this could be a positive, if that's allowed. I understand there's a lot of layers that we can't, because we are an advisory committee, that we're not allowed to step over. So I completely understand that, but I do think it would be good to send a letter that we have, and as Susan referred, not really support, but acknowledgement that it could be an asset.
Thank you, Lori, for that clarification, and Susan for all of that information. So based on, well, let me ask this before I go any further here. Any other comments or questions at this time? And I see none. So I wonder if perhaps, Susan, you could provide us with sort of some recommended wording for a motion that would encapsulate what we've just discussed, so that we can send correspondence and indicate that within our jurisdiction, we approve of the idea in principle. I'm not sure exactly how that would be stated, which I guess is why I'm asking our expert on the call today to provide us with some assistance in how we could frame this for the motion. And Jamie, I see you have your hand up.
I think we need to keep it to the minimum and just recognize the concern and be very careful what much more we say after that.
Thank you. And while Susan is working away at this, does anyone else have any comments that they would like to provide? Diane, please.
Hi, good morning. Just to reiterate Susan's own words, I really liked what she said about we see the value. If that can be used, it says that it acknowledges what we're here for, but it stops short of saying we support it.
Thank you, Diane.
So how about the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee? has reviewed the correspondence received from Southbridge Goderich Maitland Manor regarding the sidewalk and acknowledged the benefit of the sidewalk, but have no jurisdiction in this area.
So Lori, as the mover, are you content that that motion be put forward?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Can I
Thank-
just tweak it just for a second? So I'm going to say we're going to send correspondence to them,
Okay.
acknowledging basically what I said. Okay, so the
Yeah.
correspondence will be a little bit nicer.
Perfect. Thank you.
So thank you, Lori, for confirming that that meets the motion that you'd like to put forward. And if I'm not mistaken, Michelle, you seconded that motion. So just confirm that you would be content with that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have that motion moved and seconded. Any further comments or questions before I call the question? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Number 12, we have financial statements. There are no financial statements at this time. We do not have a closed to the public session. Our next meeting of the Huron County Accessibility Advisory Committee will be on Monday, June 23rd, 2025 at 9:00 a.m. And I'll look forward to seeing everyone there. And the last item on our agenda today is the adjournment. So oh, Lori.
So I just have a couple of things that I might like to see on the next agenda before we adjourn.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Just number 14 is just the next agenda items. And I have got a couple of things here, and actually Wyatt being on this panel today may be able to answer this without it going to the all the way to the next meeting. Over a year ago, the site review committee was asked about a stoplight at the post office in Wingham and the options that might be available. For those who aren't aware, there is a crosswalk at the post office in Wingham, but the actual push button that is on the pole is restricted by a water hydrant or fire hydrant, which of course cannot be moved. So we were looking for more ideas of how that could be rectified. And I just don't want that to fall through the cracks because it's been quite a while before we came back to this. So at the time, I think we kind of agreed that the county would look for different options and also that the committee would go and spend some time trying to figure out what might make this corner better. So I guess I'm asking that perhaps that come back to the next meeting on where we are with that, whether there is a plan moving forward or whether that's still in the process of being figured out. And like I say, Wyatt was involved, so he may have an answer to that. The other thing that, and maybe this doesn't go on the next meeting, maybe I should have brought it up in members' concerns. Last year, North Huron came to the committee and asked us to review all of their buildings. And between time restraints and financial restraints, we did a couple. And I'm just wondering if we could add another couple, if the committee would be in favor of adding another one or maybe two to the review list for the upcoming year. So those were my
I can speak to
Item
the last one, Lori. So what we have done is we've dealt with North Huron, and actually this is a comment that we deal with all of our local municipalities. North Huron did want us to review all of their facilities, which, I mean, we have a certain amount of time and money for this committee, and we attempt to share it within all 9 partner municipalities. So what we've settled with North Huron is they're going to be submitting a couple each year. It's up to them to make the selection as the ones that they want in the most, what order they want, and they will reach out to us. So I'm actually going to take that one I'm not going to put that on the list. And as far as the Wingham Post Office crosswalk, I was in touch with Imran of the Public Works Department, but we will put that back on the radar for discussion. And I know Wyatt's all over it because that's who he is. So great. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. That was my hope, was that we just continue to follow up with it, I guess.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori, and my apologies for jumping through to the adjournment without recognizing that this was something that was normally discussed at this time. So is this Susan, please, you look like you want to say something.
I see Sean has his hand up.
Sean, please go ahead. Thank you.
Yes. I just wanted to apologize for being late. I forgot about the meeting and jumped on late. So I do apologize for that. And I was wondering if Susan would have a couple minutes after the meeting to speak to me.
Absolutely, Sean. And in your absence, we assigned you all kinds of extra work, so you'll never be late again. That's wonderful.
Great.
As soon as we adjourn the meeting, and we'll just stay on and we can have a chat, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. And no apologies necessary, Sean. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Lori, you've got your hand up, please. Go
I
ahead.
do, and thank you. And perhaps I just wanted to make this comment before the meeting closes, is that welcome our new warden and our new staff members that are joining today. It is so appreciative to have staff support and have them involved in our meetings, so we can let them know what we're working on too. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Lori.
Thank you, Lori. Any other comments before we call for an adjournment today? Okay, seeing none. Who would like to bring a motion to adjourn, please? Jamie, and a seconder. Michelle, did I see your hand up? Yes, Michelle, please. And then all in favor. That carries. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you on a personal note for helping me chair this first meeting that I'm chairing today. It was lovely to spend this time with you and hear everybody's comments. And I'm looking forward to working with you moving forward. So thanks very much.